the first thing I want to address, and it's a little bit of why I didn't stream yesterday, and that's the whole Charlie Kirk thing. The assassination of Charlie Kirk has hit me kind of hard. The Charlie dying it was completely absurd and absolutely tragic. Having seen death before, though, the actual death of him didn't affect me nearly as much as the response to it. And I'm more shaken up by the response to his death rather than his death itself. I've seen the video. I don't recommend you watch it. It's pretty brutal and graphic and gory. If you want to watch it, you can go find it. I think it's important for people who don't understand the ramifications of what it is that of what it is when somebody dies. I don't think you comprehend what it actually looks like. So while I don't recommend you watch it, if you don't understand the weight and gravity of death when it happens, I think it might be good for you to kind of experience that and kind of like have a frame of reference about what that actually is. So I don't recommend you watch it, but then again, I kind of do. That being said, I have a pretty big announcement. Because, like Charlie, I lean to the right. I don't think it's a secret. I haven't really talked about it, but I don't think it's a secret that I lean to the right and I have conservative values. To be specific, I have non-religious conservative values. I do not agree with policies, statements, discussions of conservative values that center around or are largely based on religion. Most of the other stuff I do agree with, though. So I agreed with a lot of Charlie's premises. I did not agree with a lot of his anecdotal or methods of his messages, but for the most part, I agreed with his premise, the premise of his ideas. So to see him assassinated and killed for what we're all assuming is his difference of opinion. We don't actually know that. We don't know the motive behind why it was killed. That's what we're all assuming. It could not be the reason. But to see the reactions from so many people celebrating his death was just absolutely abhorrent. So I am at my wit's end on that. I can't sit by. For my entire life, I've been, non-interference, non-confrontational when it comes to politics and opinions like that. I can't do it anymore because Charlie shared a lot of the opinions that I have. And if people are celebrating his death over those opinions, then that means they would celebrate my death for those opinions. And there's no way that I'm going to sit aside and not defend myself when it comes to that. So, I am starting a subathon, and it will go for for as long as it fucking takes to get Twitch to deplatform anybody who promotes, suggests, or conveys any kind of opinion that would promote physical violence to those with differing opinions. I have written a statement. You can do there is a pinned comment at the top of the chat. If you want to read it in full outside of the pin, you can do !prime. I will read this statement, but the gist of it is, I do not want your sub. I do not want your bits. I want your Prime subs. I want your donations. I want to hit Twitch in the wallet until they deplatform anybody and everybody that spews rhetoric or specific calls to physical violence of people with an opposing opinion. All right, let me read this statement. The assassination of Charlie Kirk is a literal turning point in our society. I can no longer sit on the sidelines and let violent rhetoric against people that share many of my beliefs go unchecked. Calls for violence based on differing opinions will not be tolerated. If you live in America or are an American citizen, you know the entire country, political and academic, relies on the sharing and disagreement of ideas. Silencing an opponent through or suggesting physical harm is cowardly, evil, despicable, and disgusting. I am calling on you to take action to help me get Twitch to permanently ban anyone calling for, suggesting, or provoking physical violence to anyone based on an opposing viewpoint. Please support me by using your Prime sub, which is free monthly. It is non-auto renewing. You have to manually resub with your Prime sub. You get that by linking your Amazon Prime and Twitch accounts. By using your Prime sub, we can protest against these people by denying Twitch financial support using their own system. If you don't have a Prime sub, please report any of these actions to Twitch or consider pulling your financial support of them in other ways. I will add to that you don't need to use your Prime sub here. I would be very appreciative if you gave me your Prime sub, but you do not have to use it here. My first objective is to get Hasan Piker deplatformed. For a long time, he spewed hateful rhetoric to a large audience. He has literally told viewers, when speaking on a political race, you need to be fucking showing your opponent's guts on there, okay? You need to be gutting them. You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just writhe on stage, end quote. Quote, slice them up, slice them and dice them, end quote. When speaking about landlords choosing not to rent properties and leave them vacant, quote, yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers, murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalistic blood, dude. End quote. We're gonna watch the video that I took those quotes for in a second. Piker and other content creators in his circle that share his views and premises continue to be platformed, monetized, and supported in the face of blatant violation of Twitch's terms of service with almost zero repercussions. Many times, grifts and rhetoric are disseminated to tens of thousands of people that claim that conservatism, Republicans, people on the political right are destroying and is the biggest threat to America's democratic republic. That is the most dangerous lie I've heard in almost 40 years of life. Silencing an opponent through or suggesting physical harm is the biggest threat to America's democratic republic. You can come in here to my channel and my chat, and you can talk about basically whatever you want to. Read the chat rules. It says it right there. There is a rule though. no ad hominem. Argue your ideas based on the merit of those ideas. Do not make personal attacks in the argument of your ideas and ideology. There's no place for that. There's no place for that anywhere. You need to be able to argue and dissent with ideas. It is the cornerstone of our Constitution, of this country, and more specifically, of the First Amendment. I don't even want verbal attacks. You can make verbal attacks against an idea. Don't make them against a person. You can say that idea is stupid. You can say that idea is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You can ask somebody if they're okay for believing in something like that. You do not say to a group of people or a person that you're going to physically harm them for expressing an idea or opinion. Absolutely not. Permabanned, reported, whole 9 yards. Okay. So this whole thing has been on my mind for the last couple of days since Charlie was killed. And that's partially why I didn't stream last night, because it's kind of all I could think about it. I hadn't really settled in with how I felt about the whole thing. I couldn't get my emotions or my thoughts in check with it. That was probably like 15% of why I didn't stream yesterday, but mostly it was because I was drop dead exhausted. No pun intended. I don't know. I was so tired, and every fiber in my body was saying, don't stream, just sleep. You only saw the support yesterday. Today you saw all the vitriol. See, I saw the opposite. I saw all the vitriol first, and I've seen mostly support today. But I want to share with you guys and react to the video that kind of got myself centered on how I feel about this whole thing and you know, where we go forward. So this is a video from a YouTube channel called Metatron. Metatron is like 99% largely known for doing like ancient history videos and stuff like that. Very, very, very awesome dude. Very awesome channel if you're into ancient histories. He talks about ancient weapons, ancient civilizations, ancient armor, the stories, mythology, stuff like that. He's very, very good. And he put this video out today, and it's kind of what sparked this whole thing for me to go as public as Twitch is on here. So let's watch this.
Today we need to talk about a very popular content creator and streamer by the name of Hasan Piker, who is the world's second most popular political commentator. In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, we need to take some time to reflect on the word and in fact direct call to actions that have been allowed to be spoken freely on our social media platforms, regardless of the fact that they broke not only multiple terms of service, which exposes a double standard, but the very basic fibers of dignity and decency.
I could not agree more with that. And supporters will claim that that's not true, but if you are in his chat at all, no matter which social media platform you're on, whether it's Twitch or YouTube or Twitter or whatever, you will see the same exact sentiment and rhetoric from his supporters as comes from him.
I will present to you a few clips that have been put together by fellow content creators who are exposing his diabolical takes. But ironically, I might end up being demonetized or censored because of his words on my channel, even though his own words did not get him demonetized or banned on his platform.
And that's the major part with Twitch that I want to attack.
I'm still making the video. Before I jump into the actual clips and you see what I'm talking about, and if you
it's no surprise Twitch has this crazy bias against their terms of service. It's utter nonsense how cherry-picked Twitch uses their terms of service. It's unbelievable. And that's what I'm trying to attack, that part of Twitch, is their blatant picking and choosing of when they uphold their terms of service.
Haven't seen it, take a Valium. But before we jump into that, there is one take that I want to address, a take that has been rather popular these days on social media, and it's nonsense. So here it is, the take, open quotes.
Yeah, I'll link Metatron's channel a couple more times here in chat. There we go. I think that link takes you right to the video.
The only person responsible for the death of Charlie Kirk is the shooter, because he's the one who pulled the trigger. Close quotes. Nonsense. People who...
This next point he makes is extremely important. And I think it's rhetoric that we've heard in every sense of the word. We've heard that before. You know, a lot of people will say, well, it's nobody's responsibility but the perpetrator. And, you know, I've heard it from the right, I've heard it from the left, and it's a coping mechanism so that you don't have to own up to the things you have said, the things you have suggested that ended up driving a person to think that it's okay to commit some sort of heinous act.
Call for violence and incite violence are also responsible, and the blood of Kirk is on their hands too. And let me show you that you actually agree with me. Let's retro-apply this to test its inner logical consistency. Is Hitler responsible for the millions of deaths he caused? I mean, he didn't literally pull the trigger, he only used words and incited his sick followers. But technically, it was his followers who actually did the killing. So, are we not going to blame the man who had the influence and gave the orders, who made the public speeches? Is he not responsible now? Because, well, he technically didn't pull the trigger, so...
Here's another point why you would agree with that. That is the sole reason Marilyn Manson, not Marilyn Manson, the hell is Manson's first name? Charles Manson is in jail. Charles Manson never did anything physical, but he is in jail as a mass murderer because he was the one to influence all of those things done in his name. Yeah, Charlie Manson.
Yeah, I didn't think so. In the age of information, during the continuous uprise of technological addiction, violent rhetoric is not just in the hands of political tyrants making public speeches in plazas and city squares. The rhetoric and its call to action is now spread through TikTok. Social media is the new city plaza. And this power is now wielded by a multitude of chronically online narcissists who have become rich and popular overnight and do not understand the severity of the responsibility they have towards the millions of people they influence. Or do they? Or does he? Words have power, particularly in a politically inflamed context. And we cannot detach responsibility from those who speak violence and incite those who physically commit said violence. As of the making of this video, there are tens of thousands of calls to action right now. People are asking for Kirk's wife to be next. Do as Mongol next, they say. There need to be consequences for direct incitement to violence.
What's the I don't remember the quote at first, but it's something like, first they came for this group and I did nothing, and then they came for this group and I did nothing, and then they came for this group and I did nothing, and then they came for me and there was nobody left to stand with me. And I think a lot of people on the extremes of politics forget that. I think that's incredibly stupid. I think that's incredibly naive and for sure short-sighted. That's probably the least of the problems with it. But holy shit. Do a little thinking before you dive into something like that. For God's sakes.
Violence and threats online. There have to be legal consequences. And personally, I don't care who says it, towards who. In the last few days, we have seen a monumental amount of tolerant liberals celebrate and laugh at the death of a father, a husband, drawing cartoons where you can see his throat explode with blood. You've seen these kids on TikTok laughing like little miserable demons, chanting, "We got Charlie on the neck" multiple times as there are a few girls in the background laughing and giggling. These people are disgusting. Now, I know that if you're a right-winger watching this, or a centrist, or a moderate, you already don't want to have anything to do with these people. But I beg you, if you are one of my left-wing subscribers, please call them out. Show us who the good lefties are versus the bad lefties.
Yeah, so the similar to this, my premise is to not get rid of leftist views. I want them there. If you have a differing opinion than me, I want you here. I want you in my chat. I want you to bring it up, discuss the idea. You can do that. It's fine. It's amazing. That's what we have the First Amendment for. That's how we grow. That's how we solidify an understanding of our own opinions. That's how we know them better. That's how we can change people's minds sometimes. But most importantly, it forces you to think about your own values, your own merits, your own opinions. And hopefully, at the very least, it gives you enough comprehension, confidence, and ammunition to be able to defend your viewpoints against another person who wants to criticize them.
Do not find a justification. Don't try to say, yes, but show us you're decent, because the others, it's full mask off. And we will call out each and every single one of them, faces on the screen, for the world to see. But of course, for moral consistency, I will say that if someone on the right now starts to say, now makes a TikTok and starts to say, we need to retaliate and off this influencer on the left, no. There need to be legal consequences for each threats of violence. Stop trying to off each other, for crying out loud. After I'm done with Piker,
silencing a political or opinionated opponent it's not the flex you think it is. It's very much so showing that you are too stupid, arrogant, immature to be able to back up what you're telling somebody is wrong about. Can't back up your idea. You can't tell somebody why they're wrong about their opinion. You can't defend yourself, so the only thing you can do is be violent. What are you, a fucking toddler? Where he took my toy. Instead of toy in this example is they believe something differently than me. So what do? I go hit him in the head? Steal his toy? I don't fucking think so.
Next is Destiny. Let's proceed in order. Before I show you what he said, there is one thing you don't know that I would like you to know. 3 days ago was the scheduled launch date for my new merch. A pendant that took us 6 months to create, but I suspended the merch campaign because I wanted to make videos about Charlie Kirk's assassination.
If you like merch, Metatron has some pretty cool merch.
To continue the planned integrations and post them on every video for a week as we had intended. So I completely blocked the campaign even though we had started 3 days ago, and I did not put any integration nor mention to my new merch on the videos that I made about Charlie Kirk because it felt inappropriate. Even though I knew that those videos were going to get hundreds of thousands of views, I didn't feel right about it, and I stopped. However, this video, as I said, might get demonetized. So I am gonna put my merch on this video because it's a video about Piker. To counter that, I'm gonna show you the new beautiful pendant right now. If you're not interested, feel free to skip it. But if you do want to support me, regardless of any possible backlash or demonetization for speaking the truth and being honest about this, please consider ordering a pendant. It would mean the world to me, and I would really appreciate your support. Proudly presenting the pendant of the noble one. Look at this beauty. Original custom design created
his merch
by
is really good. If you like ancient history, go watch his videos.
Because, as you know,
subscribe to his YouTube channel and take a look at his merch.
This
it's
is indeed
super high quality. It's very cool.
The noble ones, who are the custos veritatis, written here in Latin, and it means keeper of truth, because that's the only thing that matters. The truth, whether it offends them or not. So, available in both silver and bronze. I think my favorite is the bronze one, but they're both great. And this can be bought as a set, as we offer the original ring of the noble one, available in silver, bronze, and gold, the bracelet of the noble one, silent oath of truth, and a more low-profile version of the ring for those who prefer something a little thinner, which we offer also in bronze, silver, 14-karat gold, and 18-karat gold. Use the code NOBLE1 for a 15% discount at checkout, and massive thanks
I like how he switched to his customer service voice.
And thank you to my haters for supporting my work. I'm a man who likes to admit his biases and be transparent and 100% clear, because when I do that, then if what I'm saying is based on a bias, then I do want you guys to call me out, because all I care about is the truth. And I'll be honest with you right now, I do not like...
Yeah, so that's a good point. That goes for here too. If I'm spewing some BS, fucking call me out, man. God damn. The truth, like, it's super cliche, but literally the truth will set you free. I don't care what it's about. If it's true, then that's something you can follow without a doubt.
Like Hasan Piker. I haven't liked him ever since I found out that he said the likes of America deserved 9/11, which, regardless of your political takes, I find to be a distasteful statement to make, considering that the people who died during 9/11 were not soldiers. They were just regular people that were going their jobs. They were someone's father, wife, husband, children. So that already, as far as I'm concerned, put him in the "this guy's bad" list. Now, this is something he said years ago, I believe. Therefore, I'm always ready for someone to have a redemption arc, but what it seems is that he actually went further down the rabbit hole. I watched his video reaction to what happened to Charlie Kirk, and in fact, he fooled me at first, in the sense that I thought, when I saw him being distressed for Charlie's death, and he was not laughing about it like the other monsters are, and he was instead being like, oh my gosh, oh my lord, what is happening? No, don't laugh about it to his own audience. You know, at first I thought, maybe this guy is getting points with me, because I'm not a tribalistic individual. If someone says something right, I don't care what politics they have, I will admit it, but I was wrong. He was acting out.
So, I remember when Hasan first came onto the scene. I was in college when he got his big break on the Young Turks. It's kind of when that YouTube channel started taking off. I think it was around the time, it was either just before or just after Obama launched his first presidential campaign. And at the time, Hasan and the Young Turks were pretty moderate left. Like, they didn't have a whole lot of hot takes. I mean, for the time, they might have seemed like hot takes, but they weren't really. They were pretty moderate left. They were like, hey, corporations are running this place into the ground, and other pretty typical left-leaning values and messages. So it wasn't really anything to get upset over. Plus, I mean, they had a lot of really good points at the time. And since then, you know, Hasan left the Young Turks. He's started on Twitch. He's got his own solo social media, conglomerate. And he's just gone way off the deep end, especially when the last few years he's just gotten more and more and more radical. His followers have gotten more and more and more radical. Absolutely, undeniably, just jumping off the cliff into that premise of a message.
How do I know that? Well, I responded to Tectone recently, who was complaining about the sun. He's only saying that now because he's scared that this could happen to him. Why am I saying this? What is my proof of this? Why did I change my mind, even though at first I was like, you know what, maybe it's being decent on this one for once? Because I found this. Watch. Since I have to try and defend my platform, I'm cutting out some main words. Look at the screen though. And
here's where the quotes from my statement that you can find on Discord came from.
The full version. Today we need to talk about a very popular content creator and streamer by the name of Hasan Piker.
Right there.
Description.
I'm sick and tired of it. Left-wingers, liberals, you need to be fucking showing your opponents on there, okay? You need to be them. You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. What the is this shit, man? Slice them up. Slide fucking. What the is this? You cannot have a bigger layup. You could not have had a bigger layup than a horrible candidate like Herschel Walker. Sure, he was prepared very well, and Herschel Walker actually had a good
monetized on social media.
Mm-hmm. No punish from Twitch. No ban. Continues to be allowed on Twitch. Continues to be monetized. I don't remember if it was this year or last year, but Twitch made a special video and released it on their other social media platforms, singing Hasan happy birthday. The most recent thing that Hasan got in trouble for and did get banned for, he got banned for 1 day on his very well-known day off.
Did he get banned? Why does he still have a platform? Do you think that's over? Oh, that's not all of it. There is more.
Hurt poor people that they can afford housing in Berkeley? I don't know how that works.
My understanding is that the property owners who have properties there choose just not to rent it at all.
Yeah, those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist dude.
Right. He hates red capitalist blood, yet he's a wealthy millionaire. He's dressed in red capitalist.
Hasan wears Gucci. He has a multi-million-dollar mansion. He has several luxury cars. And he still spews nonsense about how capitalism is the enemy. Which wouldn't really be a problem. But then he says stuff like that, where he's calling for physical violence against proponents of capitalism.
Money. And let me tell you this.
And it's the call to violence that I really have a problem with. I don't agree with your world look when it comes to model of economy. Therefore, you should not exist. Fuck that. That has no place in America. It has no place in the world, as far as I'm concerned.
I despise your wealth, Piker. Because it's blood money. And I made a post about this on my Twitter, and someone came to defend him and said, you're taking him out of context when he said X, one of these, and or the multitude others that he did.
And this is one of my biggest problems with Hasan, is that he may say these things, and you may say, oh, he's just a crazy guy, whatever. Sure. The problem with him making violent statements like that is he is effective in communicating them because he has tens of thousands of people who watch him every day. And there are probably not all tens of thousands of people that watch him, but definitely thousands of people who will defend him. And if that is not indicative of how influential he is, while he's spewing calls to violence, I don't know what is.
In that case, he didn't mean conservatives, he actually meant Democrats. Oh, so that makes it better? You absolute moron. That makes it better? No one should be I don't care. I don't care who is direct. That's beyond the point. It is one of the few cases where context does not matter. And by the way, if after he makes a call to action, then he pauses for a moment and says, in Minecraft.
That whole in Minecraft or in game after you say something just absolutely rotten. That's another one of these massive copes. I've said it, I regret saying it. I do not condone myself for saying that, even in a joking way. No more. Don't fucking do it.
No. Just read what his chat says. This guy, let's put, if you really like the context, let's present this context then. Who is he streaming to? 15 housewife and the local parish man?
No.
He has tens of thousands, sometimes 50,000 people who watch him, and a huge chunk of those are radical, and he knows it. Now, there is one more.
Radical and becoming even more radicalized because he's allowed to make these statements.
More section that I'm not going to show, and I'll tell you why, where it looks like, in this screenshot, that he specifically said, someone needs to do Charlie Kirk. The reason why I'm not showing that on screen is because I found it only as a screenshot, and those can be altered. So, stuff that I can actually hear him say on video, yeah. But something that I cannot corroborate because it could have been faked, I'm not going to use, so I'm not going to show it. However, the reason why I'm even mentioning it is because the FBI should look into that. Because if it's false, and it's someone on the right who is trying to pin something he didn't say on him, then ignore it. But look at the other stuff. But if it is true that he said this, I'm not a lawyer, but isn't that like accessory to murder?
Your solution to somebody you think has committed an injustice or a crime, or just somebody you think needs to be brought to justice, needs to be handled through the justice system. We have a justice system in America that is designed, it is in place so that you do not have to take justice into your own hands. We have the American justice system so that vigilantism doesn't need to be a thing. If you see someone calling for violence, report them. Maybe the authority of whatever platform or group you're part of will look into it. Maybe they won't. It needs to be handled through the policies and laws of whatever system that thing you are reporting is involved with. If it's a terms of service violation on Twitch, report it to Twitch. If you think it is a criminal act in the eyes of the United States law, report it to the police, report it to the FBI. Do not take justice into your own hands, other than to debate the idea of that person with your own ideas.
At this point, I don't know, you tell me if you know the law, but definitely, here is what I say. I call
Hey, Acid.
for Hasan Piker to be deplatformed. I think he should be permanently banned, not on his day off. He should be permanently
That's what I was
banned
talking about.
from both Twitch and YouTube, not because of his political ideas. He's free to have those, absolutely. But because of the calls to action, that's crossing a line. And what happened to Charlie Kirk and any other victim of political violence is a confirmation that we cannot allow people with huge influence to have no repercussion to their calls to action. Not anymore. And before anyone tries to bring up the freedom of speech, I am a supporter of freedom of speech. But freedom of speech in this beautiful country that is the United States of America is based on the First Amendment of the Constitution.
Right, and that's everything we're talking about. I want you to be able to say whatever it is that you want to say. Know that somebody will probably argue with you, and that's okay. That's what we need. We need to have arguments that put ideas against ideas, ideologies against ideologies. The line is crossed when you imply, suggest, or flat out call for violence against another person.
I'm not an American, but I do know that one. And the First Amendment does not protect.
Right, Acid, you're completely right. You know, Charlie said some controversial stuff, but all he wanted to do was debate. He wanted people to come at him with their own ideas and put his ideas and that person's ideas together and battle it out in words, in discourse, in disagreement. He didn't care that you had a different opinion. What he really wanted was to get people together and flesh out their ideas in a way that made you think more deeply about those ideas.
Everything. And one of the things it doesn't protect is precisely this: calls for violence, incitement to violence, telling your followers where someone lives and send them there and tell them someone needs to do something. Like, you can't do that. It's not protected speech. It shouldn't be protected speech.
It should not.
Let me tell you why. If you are thinking, yeah, but I still think it's his right to do it because I'm a free speech absolutist. Okay, so what if because of a post you make on social media that someone like him doesn't like, they're going to find who you are and they're going to make a call to action for violence towards your husband, your wife, your children in retaliation? Are you going to say, no, I don't want anyone to do that. I don't want the video taken down because it's his freedom of speech? Didn't think so. A good way to test whether or not we're being fair or not is to try and apply whatever we think is okay to our loved ones. And once you do that, you will see the errors of your way. You will understand, oh, and that's not because you're a bad person. It's because we're hardwired to first care about our own, then our tribes, since the Paleolithic probably, then all the rest. But this is a matter of justice, civility, decency, and humanity. And we can share that even if we disagree on politics, religion, and social ideas. Next, I want to see his uncle condemning, but I'll make a dedicated...
Right, so let me share this video with you again. Like I said, this is Metatron on YouTube. He's typically an ancient history video maker. He has a fantastic videos on ancient history, history, lore, mythology, weapons, armor, buildings, that kind of stuff. It's absolutely great. You've seen people say that freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence. If you told me I can say what you want, but I'm going to hurt you if you did. You're not free. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yeah, so that's the thing. If you do exclamation point prime, it'll give you a little spiel that's also in the pinned comment in the top of chat right now. But yeah, I don't want your sub. I don't want your bits. I would like your prime subs. And if you don't want to give your prime sub to me, please go give it to someone else. But do whatever you feel you can do to pull financial support from Twitch until everybody who calls for physical violence against someone with a differing opinion is permanently banned from the platform. That's a big goal, so we're starting small. I'm doing this Prime Subathon until Twitch does something about Hasan Piker. And once that's done, we'll go for somebody else. Until every single person who does not value the debate of dissenting ideas and calls for violence is deplatformed. Okay.